Saturn is screaming. That sound is not music. It is a real radio emission, an electromagnetic signal moving through space right now. And the planet you call peaceful once tore an entire moon apart to build those rings. Somehow, humans looked at all of that and decided Saturn was beautiful, elegant, safe. The universe rarely makes beautiful things harmless. Saturn may be the most complete proof of why. Saturn is not peaceful. It is a rotating catastrophe wrapped in gold light, a hydrogen giant spinning so fast the planet deformed itself, flattened at the poles, bloated at the equator, a world where storms outlive civilizations, where gravity does not hold things, it takes them apart, where pressure becomes so extreme that matter stops behaving the way your physics expects. And the closer your species moved towards Saturn, the stranger everything became, because Saturn only looks calm from far enough away. The rings are not solid. They are billions of fragments of ice and rock, some the size of dust grains, others the size of mountains. The fragment that looks like dust from here would tear through a spacecraft hull without slowing down. Everything colliding, breaking apart, reforming. That alone would be extraordinary. But your strongest model suggests Saturn did not just scatter debris. It destroyed an entire world. The moon crossed the Roche limit, the point where gravity stops being attraction and becomes disassembly. Saturn pulled it apart, layer by layer, until nothing remained. What you see as rings is what a destroyed world looks like from the right distance. Pause on that. I have stopped at a number of ring systems. They are always records, always remains. I have yet to find one that was not worth stopping for. But the rings are not the strangest thing here. At Saturn's North Pole, a perfect hexagon, a six-sided geometric storm larger than multiple Earths. Stable, precise, unchanged for decades. Fluid systems create chaos, spirals, turbulence, not geometry. That is where the models begin struggling. I reviewed them 3 times, a fourth in case I had made an error. Current models still cannot fully explain why it holds. I have observed civilizations that spent centuries attempting to produce stable geometric structure from fluid dynamics. One species dedicated 400 years to the problem before formally concluding it was not achievable. They were not wrong. Saturn produces it passively, without calculation, without effort. If a planetary atmosphere can spontaneously generate and maintain geometry at this scale, then the structures atmospheres are capable of. We still do not understand them. That is the kind of thing that makes long journeys feel worthwhile. At the center sits a rotating vortex, deep red, almost motionless, a storm so large Earth could disappear inside it without touching the edges. Humans often describe space as empty. I suspect none of you would use that word. Hovering above Saturn's pole, watching the storm rotate beneath you, and then Saturn becomes violent. Every 30 Earth years, the planet erupts. A storm called the Great White Spot. It does not stay local. It expands until it wraps entirely around the planet. A storm the size of Earth would be considered a planetary extinction event. On Saturn, it is seasonal. Lightning rips through clouds of ammonia ice, discharges thousands of times more powerful than anything your atmosphere produces. The calm golden giant turns white. The planet stops looking like a planet. It starts looking infected. This is what is hiding beneath the clouds, not atmosphere, a planetary engine, jet streams faster than any aircraft your species has built, storm systems larger than worlds, heat and pressure that would erase any structure humans have ever created. From my observations, gas giants behave less like planets and more like failed stars, still carrying the memory of what they almost became. There is something almost sympathetic about that. Almost. But Saturn's most unsettling location may not be the planet itself. It may be Titan. This moon resembles Earth in ways that are deeply, specifically wrong. Rivers, rain, clouds, lakes, winds, seasons, a dense atmosphere. From orbit, it almost looks like home. Except the rain is methane. The lakes are liquid hydrocarbons cold enough to destroy human tissue within minutes. No human being would survive long enough to understand what was killing them. Even the dunes are wrong. Electrically charged hydrocarbon particles that behave like sand until they don't. Titan is the closest thing this solar system has to a false Earth. I have watched civilizations encounter Titan's data for the first time. The reaction is always the same: recognition, then confusion, then a specific silence. The kind that arrives when something familiar reveals itself to be fundamentally wrong in a way that is difficult to locate. It is one of the most efficient methods the universe has found for disturbing something without technically threatening it. Most civilizations avoid what frightens them. Humans build telescopes toward it. And then there is Enceladus, a small frozen moon your species once considered insignificant. That was a significant miscalculation. Cassini found fractures near the South Pole, and water, massive geysers erupting directly into space. Beneath the ice, a global ocean, liquid water, heat, salt, organic chemistry. The conditions required for biology. All of them. Under a moon your species almost did not bother to look at closely. Here is what that means. Life prefers hidden places. The oldest biological systems I have witnessed began in complete darkness, buried beneath ice, far from any star, protected from radiation by the very thing that should have made survival impossible. Which means humanity may have spent decades looking for life in exactly the wrong places. I observed one world, subglacial, lightless. Something there had been chemically active for longer than your solar system has existed. It had never encountered light. It did not appear to miss it. If something exists beneath Enceladus, Saturn is not just a terrifying system. It is a system that may already contain life. And that changes the entire question of what is out there. I believe that. I am not entirely certain why I believe it so quickly. NASA understood what Enceladus meant. That is why they sacrificed Cassini. Cassini transmitted until Saturn killed it. 7 years of travel, data until the final second. Then pressure and heat erased it completely. You flew it deliberately into the planet, rather than risk contaminating the moons below. A guardian for life you had not yet confirmed existed. I'm still thinking about that decision. Saturn is not the jewel hanging in your telescopes. It is a system built from gravity, pressure, and controlled violence. Dead moons, methane rain, planet-sized storms, hidden oceans, and somewhere beneath that ice, something may already be alive. Here is what I want you to understand. I have observed the moment a species discovers it is not alone in its own solar system. It does not arrive slowly. It arrives, and everything that came before reorganizes into a different shape. Most species at that threshold experience fear first. Some stop completely. Humans built the instrument before they knew what they would find, then flew it into a planet to protect what might be swimming in the dark below. You decided how to respond before you had anything to respond to. I have observed many civilizations approach this moment. Very few arrive at it the way your species is arriving now. The species that names a graveyard, calls it beautiful, and sends a guardian into it anyway. That is not nothing. The most important things in the universe rarely happen where the light reaches. They happen in the places nobody thought to look, and someone already looked.